Today I'm going to be talking about my plan to retire by the time I'm 55. Now it's important to understand that if you are planning to retire early, you need to have a clear and concise plan. Retiring earlier usually doesn't happen by accident. You need to be intentional with it. Now, one of the best things you can do when you're trying to plan out your retirement is you need to map out how much you need to have saved or what your income goals are so you know what to strive for. So even though my clients all have Social Security and pensions, I do not. If I'm lucky, I might see Social Security down the road, but for the most part, I'm just banking on myself and my own investments. So let me share my screen and we'll walk through that. Okay, so for example, let's say that in order for me to retire at 55, I wanted, let's say $6,000 per month. So you always start with what you want, also by 12, so it's $72,000 per year. Now I'm going to divide it by 5%. Why 5%? So for my clients, we have a rule of 5%, which all that means is whatever you have saved, you take about 5% of it per year to use as income. So in this case, it gave me about $1.4 million. So if I have $1.4 million saved by the time I'm 55, I could take 5% of it, which would be $72,000 per year. Now, in order for you to take 5% on a continuing basis, you need to have an income strategy behind that. And fortunately, I have the strategy already set up. I do it for my clients, so I'm well versed in it. We need to have some type of strategy. You can't just leave everything in the market, take 5%, hope it all works out, because when you start taking distributions from retirement accounts, especially down markets, you're going to magnify the losses. If the market tanks 20% and you take out 5, now you're down 25%, not just 20. And it's going to take a lot longer to come back from that type of loss. So risk management when it comes to income years is very important. So we said the goal was about $1.4 million. On the screen, here's a compound interest calculator. I can link it down in the description if you guys want to play with it. So if I said, hey, 55 is 23 years away from me, currently I have about $300,000 saved across all different accounts. Now, if I think I can earn at least 5% a year, which is pretty conservative, and I don't put anything else into this, what is it projecting I'll come out with? So in other words, if I just got 5% a year on this money and didn't add another dime, for the next 23 years, what I come up with. So it's saying that I'd end up with roughly $945,000. So not too far off, considering not putting anything else into it. So if I want to get higher up, there's two things you can do. I can either invest more aggressively, get a higher interest rate, or I can choose to put more money in. So you guys come in here and kind of play with it to see how much you need to put into it. So let's just say I want to do $500 per month just to see how much closer that would get me. So I'm at about 1.2, not too much higher there. Now I could just choose to put more money away, but if let's say I'm tapped out and $500 is my budget, you can always adjust the interest rate. So 6% shouldn't be all that much harder to get than 5%, especially over a 22-year time horizon. And you can see it's about $1.4 million there. So in order for me to hit this, I need to save about $5 per month and earn about 6% on average. And that will give me the 1.4, which is going to give me that $72,000 or $6,000 per month that I want for my retirement at age 55. So when you start to reverse engineer your retirement goals, it's a lot less scary and it seems a lot more doable. So you know exactly how much you need to be saving and kind of what your overall goals are. Now, the important thing is you want to save as early as possible. So I had $300,000. Most people don't have $300,000, saved up by the time they're in their 30s. So the thing is you want to save as early as possible. So let's back this up and let's say we had starting with nothing here. And let's say we just saved for 10 years. We did $5 a month for 10 years at 6% just to see what we got. So in other words, if you're in your 20s and you're able to put $5 a month away for 10 years, by the end of that time frame, you would have put in personally $60,000, but it'd be worth about $82,000. You got about $22,000 in interest. And that was just 10 years. Now, if at that point you said, hey, I'm going to shut this off and we're going to let it sit for 20 years at this current rate. So let's say we have our $82,000 and we're just not going to put another dime into this thing. We're just going to let it grow in the market. Remember, we only put $60,000 in here. So let's put it on the calculator here and we'll go. In another 20 years, so 30 years total, you have $272,000. You only put in $60,000 of that. So you can see most of the money that's going to be earned is going to be from interest over the years. So if you did $5 a month for just 10 years and then shut it off for 20 years and earn about 6% on average, you end up with about $272,000. So that just goes to show you how important it is to saving as early as possible. Now, let's say you're someone that chose not to save earlier for whatever reason. Either you didn't have the income, bills are too high, you were on the Dave Ramsey kick of having to pay everything down really, really fast, and you lost all those early years. So let's say by the time you got it all paid off, you only have about 15 years to retirement. Now, if you have 15 years of retirement and you didn't save much of anything because it all went to paying down debt or whatever it is, and you want to do that same thing, you said, hey, I have $5 a month, I'm going to do it for 15 years. You then only end up with $146,000. You would put away $90,000. So first scenario, we only did it for 10 years. We put $60,000 of our own money and we end up with 200 some odd thousand. This one, we're doing it for 5 more years. You put in $30,000 more and you still have $60,000 less than before. So that just goes to show you how powerful it is to start saving as early as possible. So that's probably one of the biggest tips I have for anyone that's trying to retire earlier is just to save as early as possible, stay consistent with it. Even if you end up shutting it down the road, because you built that mass and you have time in the market, you're more likely to hit your goals. Time spent into the market is more important than trying to time the market highs and lows. So if you just put money in the market consistently and let it sit there, you're more likely to have more success than worrying about the political environment or this company said this, read this headline trying to say in, out, market's bad, going to cash or anything like that. Just kind of set it and forget it. Usually yields the best results. Now on that calculator, you notice I only use 5 or 6% rate of returns. And the truth is, if you're investing aggressively, you could probably get 7 or 8% on that average, and that's just icing the cake. I always like to make my projections low, just so if I do average higher than that, maybe I can retire earlier, I'll have more money than I thought. So it's up to you what rates you want to use, but 5 and 6% is typically what I'm using when I'm doing these type of projections. As far as what type of investments to purchase or what am I investing in right now, I really focus on the tax aspect first before I dive into any particular stock or fund. So I don't just dive into some fund just because I read about it online. I start with tax first. So currently, most of my money's set up in Roth accounts. So money that I've already paid taxes on, and I know I don't have to pay tax on any of the gain. So most of that $1.4 million that I'm going to see in the future is going to be tax-free. I already paid the taxes in my 30s, so in the 50s, I don't have to worry about it. And as you can see in that calculator, most of that account growth is going to be interest. I don't want to pay any kind of tax on that interest. So by doing Roth, it enables me to get out of that. Now, the other part of my money is invested into different investments. We call them non-retirement accounts, stock accounts, things like that. So it's not any type of retirement account. So in those ones, I pay taxes on the money that goes in already. As it grows, I'm going to pay capital gains taxes on that money. So the majority of the money is going to be tax-free or close to it. So I'm not going to worry about what happens if federal taxes go to 30, 35%. I don't have to worry about RMDs. I'm already satisfied with that at all. The strategy that you can use is Roth conversions. You don't have to wait till you're retired to use these things. If you have access to an account that allows you to convert, which means move money from pre-tax to Roth, it's something you should explore to do. I've done Roth conversions every single year for the past 3 or 4 years, just because I wanted to take advantage of the current low tax environment that we're in. Now, moving on to the next point. Now, once you get your tax situation figured out, what type of investments can you get into? So personally for me, my Roth IRAs, I currently have 3 of them. One was for my 401k plan. It's 100% stock. I have a second one that's again 100% stock. There's different stock portfolios. I just wanted to keep them separate. One is my own picks. One is the one I own to the firm that actually has research on them. So one's more of a gambling account, smaller. I just kind of do it for fun. The other one has the majority of my funds. That one is the same model I run for a lot of the clients that we have. So those are 2 of them. My third one is 100% in Bitcoin. So yes, you can have crypto inside Roth IRAs. I currently own Bitcoin directly, not one of those new, Bitcoin ETF things. This is actual Bitcoin inside Roth IRA. So if it were to accumulate, all that growth is going to be tax-free. Outside of that, I do have money invested in individual investments, all in some type of crypto platforms. Some are in a little bit lower risk, but higher yielding savings account, earning me 10 to 11% per year. Others are earning guaranteed rates of returns of somewhere of 10 to 15%, and the vast majority of it's in the market, and it's a complete roller coaster where you're giving a couple thousand one day, down a couple thousand the next. But it's that high risk nature that I'm going for, to try to average out a high rate of return over the long run, just because I'm a bigger believer in crypto and that it's going to be a lot of a bigger deal in the future. The thing with crypto is it's not just like another stock where you buy and hold and hope it gets better. It's a whole new technology platform. It's kind of like the internet coming around. Crypto is not just some new stock you can buy and hope it appreciates in value. There are actual companies, behind these things. It allows for other capabilities that isn't available in traditional financial markets, and it's just a little bit more efficient place to deal with. So that's why I invest in crypto. Probably the biggest holdings right now for me is money that's invested actually inside of a whole life insurance plan. So some people like to argue that whole life insurance is an investment account, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. I just know that when I put money inside of one, I can get a safe rate of return on it. I can borrow from it at any point I want to, and there's a death benefit attached. So the one hole in my plan here is, I'm assuming I'm going to make it to 55. I'm assuming I can save whatever it was, $5 a month, whatever it is, for the next few years. But if I pass away and lose my income potential, I can't save into that anymore. Therefore, my wife isn't going to be able to meet those goals anymore. It'd be a lot harder to do so. So with the life insurance benefit, I have enough life insurance that if I were to kick the bucket early, the death benefit would pay out, and it's currently sitting about 2.5 million, that I would easily hit the goal that I needed of 1.4 million to retire at 55. So in the worst case scenario, I don't make it, death benefit pays out, it's tax free. Now the wife can retire and live off of that money pretty comfortably. She could pay off debt with it, whatever she wanted to do. So that's why life insurance is a really critical part of retirement planning. It's not just investing and getting rate of returns. It's also not just about buying the cheapest term insurance policy out there, because while term insurance is cheap and the idea behind it is it's cheap now, you're going to save, you'll have a big pot of money down the road, then you will be self-insured, won't need the money. The way I look at it is you can be self-insured all you want, but without insurance, it's still less money that belongs to you. So even if I had $1 million, $2 million, I still have life insurance on me because I know I'm going to pass away eventually, and that's just automatic money that's coming in tax-free to the family. So if you want a guarantee way to give past money on to your loved ones, to your kids, you don't want to worry about, I'm going to spend too much of my money, how much is left for them? Buy life insurance. That's why I do it. So I know that I can comfortably spend whatever I want from my retirement accounts. I don't care if there's really nothing left on it, because I know the kids are going to get a life insurance policy check, and each of them are going to walk away with, close to $1 million a piece, 100% tax free. That's the way life insurance is designed. So that's personally why I save so much money into it and why I'm a big believer in it. Another reason why I like to use life insurance for my savings is it doesn't have a lot of the rules around it like the other accounts have. So there is no contribution limitations to it. There's no age limitations to it. So I can access the money where I want. I can put however much money I want away into these things. As far as taxes go, I'm only taxed if I withdraw the money. If I take it out of the loan, loans are not taxed in this country. So I can loan the money out tax free. Yes, it bills interest, but the interest just comes off the death benefit. Eventually I kick the bucket. So as long as the interest isn't enough to offset the entire death benefit, there's gonna be money left over that goes to the kids. So overall, that's currently my investment strategy. That's where I have my money personally invested, and that's how I plan to possibly retire at 55. I don't think I will retire at 55 even when I hit those goals, just because I like what I do so much. I don't really want to just sit around the house per se, but it is nice to have those goals and things set in mind. So if the day comes where I don't want to do this anymore, I know I have the money to fall back on, regardless of if Social Security is there or not. So hope this video was insightful and give you guys some insight on how you can potentially project how much savings you actually need to have and work your way backwards from there. If you have any questions or need help with stuff, the link to book meetings in the description below. I'll catch you guys next time. Remember that your future depends on what you do today.